Am I live? Am I live? Am I live? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Yes, I am live, Clive. Mm-hmm. What's up, Rob Trimble? Oh, shit. This hit. This shit right here hits. Mm-hmm. You said you put somebody onto the dinner party album? Yeah. You see, here's the thing. That's what's up, Bring It Black. You know the funny part about that? I love every single musician on Dinner Party. But I didn't like Dinner Party that much. That's weird. Well, I'm not the biggest Ninth. Dinner Party sounded like Ninth Wonder, and like if the way it sounded like Kamasi was just sort of playing the saxophone over top of some things that Ninth Wonder already had put together. It didn't. I like Dinner Party for the musicality of it. I'm glad you put people up on it because every musician ended on the Dinner Party album. Terrace Martin, Robert Glasper, Kamasi Washington. They are the gods. They are the music gods of this generation. But the album itself to me was kind of like, eh. Yeah, that's right. It was pretty formulaic. It was. And for people who are into formulaic music, that's a great album. But me, I like my music to have more breath, a little more dynamics to it. But I still like the project, and I'll never shit on the project. I'll never down the project. It's just I was expecting something different. That's what threw me off about the Dinner Party album. I was expecting something different. You know, and I can understand a few formulaic songs here or there, but the whole album that's what threw me off. Like, man, I wanted something new. I wanted to hear some tracks with Kamasi and Robert Glasper just going off. You know? What's up, Big Lee? What's up, Quan? What's up, Cassandra? And we're gonna talk about this today because I've been so busy in the morning. Usually I get up in the morning and start working right away. I haven't been able to come to y'all in the morning like I like to do usually. That's how y'all know I don't do this shit for views. I do it because I love talking to y'all about information and sharing what's on my mind and listening and reading what you guys have to say. Because the analytics on my channel tell me if I want the most views to go live between 10 and 3 West Coast time. That'll give me the most views. And when I do go live during those times, I do get the most views. I'll get 300 or 400 people live in the chat room when I go at that time. But I be busy. So I can really only come to y'all, you know, if I want to post on this channel regularly, I can only come to y'all sometime at night like I am right now. And hell, 2/3 of my audience is asleep right now. But they'll catch it in the morning. If it was about the views, I wouldn't do this. But I do this because I love doing this shit. Well, what's up, Dr. Sinister? What's up, Butter Love, Smoke Splitter? Yeah. But is the trans community bullies, y'all? Hit the #1 channel because I want to see if I'm tripping. If you in the chat, or if you're watching this video later on, go in the comment section and if you think the trans community is bullying us right now, I want y'all to press the #1. as I'm on my nigga shit. I'm smoking weed and drinking some Syrah. This is California Central Coast, Andrew Murray Vineyards, Roasted Slope Syrah. Hey, I hit the number one. Okay. So it ain't just me. Because and they're right. I include the LGBTQ community. And here's the thing, and I want to start off by saying this very clear. I don't have an issue with trans people. I think it's funny. But if you think that you shouldn't have a sausage, you should have a valley instead, then hey, more power to you. I don't begrudge anyone the opportunity to express their feeling, how they feel. You know? But when you start to impose your point of view on the rest of us, what's up, Court? When you start to impose your views on other people and tell them how they should think based on how you feel, that's crossing the line. You know? That's crossing the line. Because on one hand, you're telling people what they can and cannot say. And let's break this down on a few levels. I'll get to the children. When I finish this part, remind me. I'm going to get, that's a good point. I'm going to get to the kids. But I'm going to start off by I'm going to talk about this in a few layers, all right? On one level, it's like you are who you feel you are, and that's fine. But when you tell me that you feel marginalized because of what you said, and then you turn around and these people always want to compare their struggle to the civil rights struggle and to what black people have gone through. Let's make something clear to people who may come in here that are part of the trans community or trans apologists, like Sean King. When you trivialize the black plight down to how someone feels, that's disrespectful to us. We can handle our feelings. We can handle words. If a white person calls me a nigga, do you think I give a fuck? I'd probably knock his ass out, but I wouldn't be hurt. And if I was in an environment where I couldn't knock him out because of whoever's around, I wouldn't be hurt. I'd just start talking about his mother, start talking about him, and I'd start cracking jokes on his shoes and doing all kind of shit. Like, I wouldn't be hurt. It would have turned into a joke contest then. And I got more jokes than any of them motherfuckers. Ain't a white boy on earth that could beat me in a roast. You could bring back motherfucking Greg Giraldo from the dead, motherfucker. Ain't no white boy on earth beating me in a roast. So, yeah, Sean King was talking that shit. For those of you who don't know, Sean King put up a post on Instagram today saying that it's time Dave Chappelle lay off the trans community, basically because of how he makes them feel. And whenever they do that, that's their tie-in to the black struggle and how certain words can make black people feel. The words, see, black people, if our issue was just words, we would have been through this shit 399 years ago. We don't give a damn about no fucking words. It's about how we treat it. It's about how you treat it. Like, I had a conversation with my grandfather about 6 months ago. One of the last 5 or 6 conversations that we had before he transitioned. And I asked him about moving out here to LA from Grace, Mississippi in 1937. And I asked him why he moved out here. Why did the family move? I said, on one hand, an opportunity because, they were farmers down south. He used to have to carry water and go to school, then carry water some more. They were farmers down south, so they got to come to LA and not have to be on that field. On the other hand, my grandfather had to see his uncle. His uncle did something. He don't know what his uncle did, but it was something that the white folks didn't like. And he had to witness his grandfather get trampled, get tied up, tied down, and trampled by a horse. My grandfather had to see that as a child, as a 10, 11-year-old. And my grandfather then passed that trauma down to my father and to me because seeing that as a young boy, that hardens you. That hardens a man's soul. That makes people indifferent. That makes people not care about feelings and emotions. So they bring to their merit. So our grandparents, and my grandfather's not unique. Everybody in here, y'all grandparents have to go through the same shit. Quan, Court, Eric Witt, your grandparents had to go through the same. My grandfather's not unique, so I'm not trying to say that I'm special. This is all of us. Our grandparents grew up in these environments where they saw extreme trauma. My grandfather saw his uncle get trampled, tied down and trampled, while the police watched. While the police watched it happen. So they had to leave. And everybody watching and listening to me right now, American Negro, Wally Gibson, Frank Green, your grandparents, your great-grandparents saw similar traumas growing up in the Jim Crow era. So what happens when you get that trauma? That trauma gets passed down, not through stories, but through behavior. Because when you have those trauma points, you then suffer the results in your actions and your behaviors. How you treat your spouse, how you treat your children. All of those things, those experiences, go into how you interact with your family. It goes into the business decisions that you make. It goes into your everyday decisions. So we bear the burden of our ancestors' trauma. We got to realize, if your parents are my parents' age, my parents, Jim Crow was still cracking when my parents was kids. And it was definitely cracking to my grandparents. So think about this. It's not just one generation. My family arrived on these shores documented in 1660 from Middle Essex, England, and married indigenous niggas in Virginia. So the people that they married that was here had already been here. Who knows how far back? I don't know how far back they were here. I tell you one thing, they didn't come during the slave trade. I'll tell you that. So a lot of us have been here during this American trauma, 400, 300 years, right? It's a new generation every 20 years. So every 20 years back, you got a new set of grandparents. You literally have hundreds of great-great-great-grandparents' DNA trauma in your blood right now. It's a multiplier. I got the homie Quan, she in the chat room. She know the numbers. I ain't good. 3 generations is what, Quan? 64? No. 4 generations is 64 grandparents. 5 generations, 128 grandparents. 6 generations, you're at 256 grandparents. 7 generations, it multiplies like that. 7 generations back, you're at 256 grandparents. 6 generations back. And then you're at 5, then it goes to what? 512. You know what? Think about it like this. It goes into the same multiplier as your hard drive and RAM, your memory, your computer, or in your phone. 32 gigs, then a 64 gig, then a 128 gig, and 256 gig. That's how your grandparents multiply generations back. So everyone that's a foundational Black American listening to me now, you have that much trauma in your bloodline, right? Our great-great-grands lived through this so that we could be the beneficiaries of their sacrifice. This is why acknowledging our history here in North America is so important. Excuse me. Because when you go straight back to Africa, you skip over hundreds of men and women of direct blood that experience direct traumas. I have an ancestor I recently found in Ancestry. Oh, and y'all, hit up Randy Short. Email wrandyshort@gmail.com. He does genealogy trace. He can go into he goes into the archives and he can find lost family that you never knew you had. Hit up Dr. Randy Short if you're looking to get in contact with your family. And hit up Jayla for her candles. Miles, put Jayla's information up in the chat for her candles. Weed Smoke 22 is the discount code, 40% off Jayla's candles. But hit up Dr. Randy Short. wrandyshort@gmail.com. He goes to the archives and he can find family. He told me he's already, like 5 of you guys from the channel's already hit him up. And all 5 so far, he's found family members. So, I appreciate y'all, Miles, for real. I appreciate everybody in here, honestly. I got gratitude. I have extreme gratitude when I have 60 people listening to me talk at damn near midnight. I have gratitude. But our grandparents and great-grandparents went through this. I recently found an ancestor who was enslaved in Kentucky. I didn't know I had family from Kentucky. And I saw him enlist in the Civil War to fight, to free himself. And he had such beautiful handwriting. Excuse me. It was signed like February 5th, 1863. He signed up right away to free himself. That's just one. What about my family member that was free, my mulatto ancestor that was freed by his slave masters slash father's will when he died, only for the state of Mississippi to jump in and say, be, due to, and I've showed y'all, I've shown you guys that watch me regularly, you guys have seen the newspaper clip. When I'm on my computer, I put the newspaper clip up there all the time. I have the actual newspaper clip where the governor jumped in. The governor thought my great-great-great-granddaddy was so important that he jumped in and stopped him from being freed. He said he can't be freed until his youngest brother is of age, and his youngest brother was 2 months old. This is in 1855, 10 years before the start of the Civil War. 9 years. I have family that was free, never enslaved, who are on their ancestral land in Virginia for I don't know how long. They don't have any beginning when I look at their trace. There's no come from Africa. There's no come. That side of the family, they were just always here. They had to leave their land in 1831 because they were about 50 miles away from the Nat Turner Revolt. And all black people who lived in that area of Virginia, they were like, okay, it ain't gonna be no more free niggas. After Nat Turner had that revolt, that's why I'd be like, man, fuck niggas talking about some goddamn Nat Turner didn't exist. That's some corny ass weirdo shit. You got niggas out here saying Nat Turner didn't exist. I got records in my own motherfucking family showing that they lived 50 miles from the Nat Turner revolt. That they had to leave and escape and go to Indiana because they were no longer going to allow free blacks to live in Virginia. What's up, Evan? So my family had to, and then this happened around the time of the Homestead Act, when white folks was getting free land all over the fucking country. My family had to purchase their land. After my family purchased their land in Indiana, Indiana changed the law. My family had got up to 900 acres. Indiana changed the law and said no more black people could move to Indiana. And they had to walk every day in fear of getting caught by slave catchers because that was a popular thing back in the day. Free black people walking around minding their own business. A group of white boys who would eventually become sheriffs. They only tell you half the story on a slave catcher. The slave catchers, only half of a slave catcher's job was to capture escaped slaves. Why were there slave catchers in fucking Indiana when there was no fucking slavery in Indiana? Because they used to hunt niggas. That was a lot of money for them back in the day. They could capture a free black person and get paid $25. That's a lot of goddamn money in 1892. I'm sorry, 1829. That's a lot of money in $5, $10 per nigga. And these white boys ain't got no fucking skills. Of course they're gonna round up 5 or 6 good old boys and spend all day looking for free black people to kidnap and sell off into slavery. So I got that trauma, and I'm only in the 1800s, mid 1800s, and that goes back, and I'm only dealing with 3 bloodlines out of, if I go back, that's what, 5 generations. That means that's 128 ancestors I have living at that same time. It's 120. I have 128 ancestors alive in the 1830s, and so do anybody in here listening. In the early 1800s, you have 128 ancestors that were alive, walking this earth. I'm only telling the story of 3 of them. So we carry that generational trauma. And when our grandparents fought for us during the civil rights movement and they took them sacrifices, they did that for us. Think about it like this. For you parents out there, you work your ass off. You go through all kind of fights at your job, and you only stay at this job for the benefit of your children. If it weren't for your children, you have other things that you would do, but you can't make that sacrifice to do those other things at this time of your life because you got to sacrifice for your children. Imagine you putting in all that work and then something happened. You done got life insurance. You own property. You done did your will. Your living trust. And in your living trust, you expected that inheritance to go to your children and your grandchildren. But you look up and see when the cash got paid out, there was a caveat in that living trust, and that money got then dispersed to everyone that lived on your block. And everybody got paid except for your children. How would you feel? You in the next plane, or you on this plane, you in a coma. But you can't move, but you still not in a coma, but you locked up, you can't move, you can't really do anything no more. You just sitting there and watching this happen. You know what I mean? You may have gotten in an accident or something like that, and then your living trust, this money was for your children. But it was some slickster writing that gave the money to other people's kids. How would you feel? Let's take it even deeper. How would you feel if you saw your kids openly being okay with that? How would you really feel? Let's take it a level deeper than that. How would you feel if not only are they okay with it and enabling it, how would you feel if they gave credit to your cousin and they acknowledge your cousin as a person that left that the reason why they're gifted is because their cousin in Minnesota, your cousin in Minnesota, or your cousin in Florida. Yeah, it's my cousin over in Florida. Yeah, they the reason why I have this talent. Yeah, my cousin in Florida. Yeah. They the reason why I got these gifts, these musical gifts. You pay for their drum lessons, but they're acknowledging your cousin in Florida that gave them these gifts. How's that? Now you're an ancestor and you seeing this happen from up above. And you seeing your children from up above, up in heaven, up in the ethers, wherever the fuck you think, wherever your religion says. Now you up in the ethers and you looking at from the spirit realm what's going on. You see those kids that you thought you set up nicely get abused, but they happily getting abused. And all the gifts that they do have, they give credit to your cousin in Florida. And they don't even acknowledge you. And then they go and they getting beat up and they go and pray. I want my ancestors. I'm praying to the ancestors. But the ancestors they praying to are the ancestors of your cousin in Florida. How much power do you think is in that prayer? Let's think about that for a second. You praying to ancestors because black people are Afrocentric now, you know. We done left the church. We was first, before that, we was praying to Jesus. Your kid was praying. Your kid wasn't even acknowledging any ancestor existed. They said Jesus was for everything. Off what you set up. And then now it's like, okay, they're not talking about Jesus no more. Now they only praying, but they praying to their ancestors, but they're not praying to me. They're not praying to grandmama, the same grandmama who used to wipe your nose when you were sick. The same grandmama who would be patient with you and sneak you some candy when your mama was being too strict. The grandmama that you know and love that took care of you. The grandmama that was sweet and made you shut up when you was in church. She's been in the ancestral realm now for 20 years. But you praying the ancestors of your cousin in Florida. How much power is in that prayer? So I said that to say this. On a spiritual level, what we're doing when we acknowledge our immediate ancestors, those are the ones that have the closest connection to you. You probably got ancestors way back that don't even fuck with your grandmama, your great grandmama, because something that happened. And they don't fuck with each other in the ancestral realm. They ain't even thinking about your monkey ass. You know, you think your ancestors just sitting around, just all them ancestors just sitting around looking at Earth and give a damn about you? Some of those ancestors, especially if their names stop being spoken, they ain't even around paying attention to this motherfucker no more. The ancestors with the most interest in Earth are the ones that were here the most recently. This is just for the people. I don't tell people what spiritual practice to follow. I don't give a damn if you're spiritual or not. But what I'm saying is this: for those who are, and here's the reason why I'm saying that. And I'm gonna get back on this trans subject. But here's the reason why I'm saying that. When I talk about our ancestors and our trauma here in America, I always get someone in my comment section that talks about Africa, especially on Instagram. I always get somebody that talks about Africa. They always say, well, I acknowledge my African ancestors. And I don't have anything against that. But I say, what about the ones that were here like 50 years ago? You just gonna ignore them? Your grandfather taught you how to chop wood, man. Grandmama taught you how to cook eggs. You just gonna ignore them? That's why I say it's good that we as a culture are really coming together, you know what I mean, and getting ready to see who we are. Because you have the people from the trans community now benefiting from the sacrifices that our grandparents made and great-grandparents and immediate ancestors. Maybe there's a connection between our lack of acknowledgement of our immediate ancestors and us not reaping the benefits that they sacrificed for. That's just something for me that's just something to think about. I don't know. I don't know what the fucking answer is. But it's something I thought about. Maybe we don't, maybe partially because black people, at the end of the day, we spiritual than a motherfucker. We may have left the church, but there's still very few black atheists out there. Nigga, black people worship or acknowledge something, nigga, even if it's down to worshiping yourself. Niggas worship, nigga. problem is 2/3 of these niggas worship LeBron James and Jay-Z. But that's another topic. So we have this immediate, I think I'm just looking at, as we acknowledge our immediate ancestors, you are going to see more power. And I think you're starting to see it. But not, I can't even see going. You're seeing the power. You're seeing the shift. Everybody sees it. Don't be that dumbass nigga waiting on CNN to acknowledge it. You see it. We see it. We see the shift. I was talking to my wife about that the other night. About how like now you really seeing black women be vocal against the feminist movement. This wasn't popular 4 or 5 years ago. We see the shift. But in this shift, you're getting these people trying to bully us. And they're taking the rights that our ancestors fought for, and they're using those rights to smack us over the head with them. These motherfuckers got Dave Chappelle to get the theater venue changed at the last minute because they was mad at some shit he said. What the fuck? They had to inconvenience that man and his audience. There are people there to see him. So if the people want to see him, the fuck y'all care? But Dave Chappelle had to be inconvenienced because these people using rights that our ancestors fought for. I talked about our ancestors like in length for a reason. Because I'm really trying my best to drive home a point, you know? I'm trying to drive home a point. We have blood circulating through us right now that lived through this. It shouldn't be too much. It shouldn't be too much to say thank you with our behavior and to stand up to people trying to bully us with the rights that our ancestors fought for. Our ancestors didn't have an issue with trans. Hell, I guarantee you, our ancestors didn't even know what the fuck a trans person was. You think great-grandpappy Roscoe knew what the fuck a trans woman was? They would just call him a cross-dresser and keep pushing. Oh, that's a cross-dresser over there. And they keep pushing. They didn't know what the fuck a trans person was. So this is a time that we have to hold the line. They can request all they want, but you don't have to bend. Now, that doesn't mean be disrespectful. I'm not going to disrespect trans people. They're still humans. They still deserve every ounce of love and respect I give to non-trans people. And I give LGBTQ people the same love and respect I give everybody else. The same love and respect I give a child. The same love and respect I give an adult that I give an elder. When you come across me, you can talk to anybody who's ever met me from this internet shit. I'm genuine. I'm genuine. That's who the fuck I am. I don't play with people. Now when people play with me, I got jokes. And it might hurt a little bit, but you'll live. Like, I got jokes again. Like, look. I still tell trans jokes and gay jokes on stage. Them motherfuckers have not stopped me. I got a joke. I ain't been on stage like in 3 or 4 months though. I gotta get on stage soon. I gotta hit some people up and get on stage soon. But I got a joke where they like, you're not gonna get me to stop talking about trans people. I mean, gay people and trans. These dudes walking around dressed in dresses. If I see a nigga with a square jawline, 6'4", with Evander Holyfield shoulders, walking in here with a dress and size 14 heels, I'm laughing. Bitch, heels look like a freeway on-ramp. You can't tell me that ain't funny, goddamn. How your shoes look like a 747 taking off at LAX? Is you wearing escalators? The fuck is going on here? I'm not gonna not talk. I'm not gonna not say that joke. Every time I say that joke on stage, people laugh. Matter of fact, I said a joke about 6 months ago on stage. It was a gay person in the back laughing their motherfucking ass off. Mm-hmm. So, no, I'm going to tell jokes against gay people and trans people because I respect them. You human, just because you make a certain choice with your sexual behavior don't put you past jokes. No. Y'all clown black people every day on goddamn TV. Every time you look up, the only time you're going to see a man on TV is if his wrist is broke. He got to be licking nutsacks to get a primetime TV gig. When I was a kid, we couldn't even see. The only thing they could do was like, they couldn't even have sex scenes, kissing scenes at 8 o'clock. You remember back in the day, the TV shows with the kissing scenes? Those shit started at 9 and 10 o'clock at night. You got 2 shows, one at 9, one at 10, where they can kiss. And then the evening news came on at 11. I remember the motherfucking days. Everything else, anything that came on, I remember in the days of HBO and Skinamax. Like HBO, when I was a 10-year-old boy, they never showed titties on Sunday night. Sunday night was the worst night to watch TV in the summertime. Because in the summertime when school is out, we could turn on HBO Cinemax after 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and we could finally see some titties. 10 years old, man, you look forward to that. But then Sunday night, no titties. We had to work for that. Usually my big brother would be looking at the titties and I had to play watch out. Because I'm the little brother. My brother's short. But I'm 5 years younger than my brother. So he would be watching the titties and I would have to be looking down the hall to make sure our parents ain't coming down. And now these motherfuckers just come out and just, you watching the TV show, they talking about, they'll be at a goddamn poetry lounge on a show or at a concert. Then the next scene, you see two dudes ramrodding each other, kissing all graphically, and nah, man, that's bullying because you breaking the rules. You're not doing it the way the straight people do it. Look at black movies. Pay attention to black movies before this influx of bullshit over the last 10 years. Go back to the heyday of black movies, the 80s and the 90s, the 70s. In the 70s, like the sex scene from Superfly from Dolomite was playful. The most graphic you would get sexually was in the 70s blaxploitation, but a lot of them was white boys behind a lot of them too. But look at the shit that we created, not the ones the white boys created. The movies we created, Eddie Murphy movies. The sex scenes were suggestive. Go back to Bodyguard. I mean, not Bodyguard, Boomerang. Go back to Boomerang. That was a movie about love. But in one of the sex scenes, if you look real closely, what's her name still had her drawers on. It wasn't nothing grotesque. Most of the stuff was, and there's only really one heavy sex scene. Everything else was suggestive. Most of those movies, the best men, most of those movies we created in the 90s, if it was a Reginald Hudlin movie, if it was an Eddie Murphy movie, the majority of the sex scenes in straight sex was suggestive. Black folks didn't really get graphic in sex scenes when we created our own movies, foundational Black Americans. John Singleton. There will be sex scenes, but the majority of it will be suggestive. We never did the shit that white boys did. Like when you watch, what's that movie with Michael Douglas? When the bitch pulled out the little ice pick. What was it? When she crossed it? The one where she crossed her legs. What was that movie with that all them white boys like back? Came on like at 92. What was that movie called? Yeah, Basic Instinct. Yeah, Basic Instinct. Remember them was motherfucking. You saw the way they was kissing. That's another reason why I never fucked with white girls. Them motherfuckers kiss violent, sucking each other's face in. Their whole goddamn face is pink when they done kissing. They shit was little, but even that wasn't as bad as this shit we see now. This is bullying. Nobody asked for this. We've been asking for another Friday since the last Friday came out. Niggas spent decades asking for another Friday when John Witherspoon and Debo was still alive and AJ Johnson. Salute to AJ. I miss AJ. I used to see AJ all the time at the comedy clubs. I remember when he got out, and his brother Peanut. They had a tour called the Comedy Convicts. My man Hurricane, AJ, a few other comics. AJ always reminded me of my uncle. They had the same body language and mannerisms, and I would tell AJ that. Rest in peace, AJ, man. But when they were alive, the world wanted another Friday. We didn't get another Friday. We got Lee Daniels Presents. Who the fuck asked for Lee Daniels anything? Where this nigga come from? I remember we used to have good ass movies like House Party, motherfucking Life, Nutty Professor. We used to have good ass movies like motherfucking The Best Man, The Wood. And then out of nowhere we get Precious. Think about it. Who asked for that? We was asking for Friday. Then we get, after that, we get we started getting all these movies where booty plays getting involved. But we asked for Friday. All we wanted was last Friday. That's what we wanted. We wanted last Friday. We would have took another All About the Benjamins. We would have taken that. We would have taken another version. There's a lot of movies we would have taken. We would have taken a lot of movies. I'm over here watching my neighbor go in her house. I saw my neighbor just get home from her Uber. So anytime I see a woman going home, I always make sure I play Lookout. That's some shit my dad taught me. I took my dad to the gun shop today. That shit was fun. But that's another story. I'm going to sit here and watch till she get in the house. Then I'm going to go back to my seat. She in the house? You forget your keys? Goddamn. What's up, BB? But you said Get Out with some BS too? That's cool if it's a new best man and they keep true to it. That's cool if they do that. But think about all the other movies we could fuck a remake of an old movie. We never stopped liking anything the Hudlin brothers did. We never stopped liking anything John Singleton did. Why not keep giving them more opportunities? Robert Townsend. If Robert Townsend had a movie, black folks was down. If the Wayans brothers had a movie, or anyone in the Wayans family had a movie, we was down. Why not keep giving them budgets? Why not? Think about this. We had a lot of really good movies in the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s, early 2000s. But that was back in the day. If y'all go back and look at the business move that was made, if you go back and look from like 95 through like 96 to like 2002, when they signed that when Bill Clinton signed that Telecommunications Act of 1996, that's when you started seeing all of those movie houses get bought up. New Line Cinema, gone. Pyramid Films, gone. It used to be hundreds of production companies in the early 90s. By the time you get to 2003, 2004, it's like 6 or 7. And as soon as it got like that, they started bullying us with this sexual deviancy. Nobody asked for this. Nobody asked for this. Credit card interest rates are criminal. No one's talking about regulating that. No one's talking about making the internet a public utility or making gas a utility. You want to fix gas prices? Make gas a public utility. The same way you do electricity. That way the bills can be regulated. We're at a time of massive homelessness. There's no real solutions on the stage. But we're talking about, I'm not even talking about reparations. I'm talking about these dumb motherfucking people out here who spend all day talking about trans rights. Sean King and idiots like that. You got these real things going on. Say you are one of those people that don't want to talk race and reparations. Okay. Everybody ain't going to talk race and reparations. Okay, I get it, whatever. Can you at least talk about the other issues that affect the everyday people? Gas should be a utility. The internet should be a public utility. The same way the phone lines are. Phone lines are regulated because yes, you can own phone companies, but you cannot regulate what's being said on those companies because phones are a public utility. People better learn how this game works. The internet should be a public utility. You ain't gotta talk about no goddamn Tesla man buying Twitter. You ain't even gotta talk about that. You ain't even gotta talk about that. You ain't gotta talk about none of that. Just make the shit a public utility. But they got you talking about trans rights. And stop Asian hate. Under laws your grandparents sacrificed for you and me. Think about it. Think about it. That's what I'm talking about, bullying. Notice one time, I never say anything derogatory about trans people. I never say anything derogatory about gay people. I've shown nothing but respect to the people as individuals. But these people are being used by some powerful people with money to push political agendas. And they're willfully participating in the fleece. So since it appears you're doing your best to fleece my people, I gotta say something. Because my ancestors fought for this. Not the ones in Kemet, the ones in Mississippi, the ones in Alabama, the ones in Texas, the ones in Michigan, Virginia, Mississippi, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky. They took a lot of shit for this. And that's still with respect for my ancestors from Africa. But these current laws that we're dealing with right now in 2022 ain't got a damn thing to do with Africa. These are laws that Anglo-Saxon Protestants former Visigoths and Vandals, well, ain't too many Franks up in government, but Germanic tribe people, these are laws that they're imposing on the backs of laws our immediate ancestors fought for. That's what this is about. And that's with respect to my African ancestors. But this fight ain't got a damn thing to do with Africa. See what I mean? See what I mean? So, you can't call me a bad guy for standing up, you know what I mean? For standing up for these things my immediate ancestors fought for. I wish that jackass had hit their goddamn alarm. I don't know if y'all can hear that shit. This nigga got a 1997 Allen Ed's alarm on his car. If you from LA, you know what I'm talking about when I say Allen Ed's. That's what niggas was going back in 93 for a pull-out radio, some tent, and that whack-ass alarm system. God damn. This nigga said, he went down to Best Buy and said, yeah, let me go ahead and get that alarm and that Jodeci album. Yeah, that Jodeci CD. Let me get this alarm that Jodeci CD. Yeah. This nigga. All right, that alarm is off. Nah, a loud ass motorcycle went through, and these people be having these sensitive ass alarms. And the sound be hitting that shit off. But again, that's why it's good that we're starting to acknowledge that. And I'm doing my part with the music history. I just hit up one of my boys, Hassan Hayes. He be in the chat room sometimes. He just hit me up. I'm about to just really do a whole breakdown of my music trio. We gonna have that shit professional. I'm gonna do that professionally filmed. I'm gonna sit down on camera for about 2 or 3 hours and just really break down the nuances of black music. And I'm gonna have this shit gonna be a higher quality than most documentaries you watch. And I'm gonna splice it up and put them in short clips and just release them over time on the internet. Dropping truth bombs. Boom. So I'm gonna need y'all to reshare them hoes. But I'm gonna sit down for about 2 or 3 hours just talking black music facts. And I'm gonna cut these hoes up into like 2 and 3 minute clips. And just drop them. Boom. Drop 2 or 3 a week. And hit the like button. I can't see, here's the thing about making it a documentary. Once it goes that far, now you have to clear images. That documentaries cost a fuck ton of money. Because the images that you use, you have to clear them first. And that can cost, some images can cost upwards of $10,000 a clear. And I ain't got it like that. But I'm not gonna let that stop me from releasing the information. I might have the whole version on Vimeo, OTT or something like that. I might do something like that where behind the paywall to where if you want to see the whole thing in one, I might do it like that. But I'm gonna be using images and shit, and that's right there. I just gotta put that shit up on YouTube. Because if I did like a documentary style, that shit, nah. But anyway, I don't want it to stop. I don't want the lack of resources to stop me from doing this. I'm just gonna do what I can do with the resources that I have. One thing I do have is a cameraman with a 4K camera, all the lighting equipment you'd ever need. Matter of fact, this particular cameraman, he's the person that used to go around filming RZA. He did some work on Hidden Colors 5. As a matter of fact, the scenes where RZA is being filmed, that's actually by him. Or RZA's outtake. Like RZA had a whole bunch of outtakes. That's my man Hayes. That's some of his work. That's the beautiful thing about living in LA. Y'all can talk you people can talk all they want. Living in LA, shake the tree, talent's gonna fall out. And this just a homie. We met when I was doing stand-up comedy. I was doing security. This is when me and Craig met. I was doing security for the comedy club. I would check people's IDs and do security. Then I would take the security jacket off, go on stage, do 3 to 5 minutes of comedy. They put my security jacket back on and go out and work the door. And I met him when I was doing that. And then we did like a little bullshit ass movie together that never came out. But we stayed in contact. So yeah, now, so these snippets are gonna be, but Y'all gonna be satisfied with the quality. This is going to be of the highest quality. I guarantee you, nobody's saying anything to the contrary of what I'm saying. They're not gonna have anything close to the quality of what I have coming out. I can guarantee you that. That's what I do have the budget for. I'm doing what I had the budget for. That's what I'm doing. I'm doing what I have the budget for. But back to the trans community. It's disrespectful what they're doing. And as a people, we have the right to stand up and say something because they've turned it into a political agenda, you know? And politics affects us all. And politics isn't personal. So if they're using their politics to take rights our ancestors fought for, we have the right to stand up to that with zero hate in our heart. This is business. It's not about how you feel. It's about how it affects us on a day-to-day basis. We as black people, look, I'm in California, right? I'm 41 years old. Affirmative action has never affected me. I've never benefited from affirmative action in my life. I graduated high school in 1999. California ended affirmative action in 1996. My dad wasn't an affirmative action hire at his job. He worked there at that job. That was a place that my grandfather helped found. Another thing that we black people had to deal with. That company my dad worked for would have never existed if it were not for the labor of my grandfather. They said when he retired in 1989, they had to hire 3 people to replace him. And they even said that the company wouldn't exist without him. But the white boys got to keep the ownership. My grandfather got a bullshit ass pension. Quick story about my grandfather. My grandfather was ignorant as hell, boy. He was funny. Poppy wasn't. This is a quick Poppy story. Remind me where I was when I finish telling this Poppy story. But when Poppy was training his replacement, when he was getting ready to retire in '89, it was a couple Mexican guys that was learning from him. But my grandfather talked to everybody ignorant. So when he was teaching the dude, my dad told me the story. My dad saw it. My grandfather could cut a chicken. He could quarter up a chicken in just a couple seconds. Boom, 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 boom. Like they said, it took 3 people to replace my grandfather. My grandfather, when it came to chickens, he could weigh them in his hand. He didn't have to put them on a scale. He knew the difference between a 2-pound chicken and a 2 1/4 chicken. He can feel the quarter pound difference in chickens. He was a master at that. That's one thing that he did in his job duties, and he still owned a hamburger stand on the side. But when he was the chicken man in LA, his clients were like Nat King Cole, Cap Calloway, Katharine Hepburn, Orson Welles. Those are my grandfather's clients. But he left that skill to go start this company with these white boys. And so when he's retiring in 1989, he kept calling the Mexican dudes that was replacing him, he kept calling them stupid motherfuckers. So it was like when he would go to teach him how to cut the chicken, he would just boom, 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 you do it. He didn't like slow down and take his time and be like, first you cut here, then you cut there. My grandfather would just cut it real fast and tell them to do it. And each time they messed up, he would call them a stupid motherfucker. He'd be like, look here, you stupid motherfucker, cut it like this. Boom, 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 boom. And they would still mess up. God damn it, you stupid motherfucker, cut it like this. Boom, 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 boom. This is a true story. So the Mexican dudes went to the manager and said, Percy keeps calling us stupid motherfuckers. Then my grandfather walks into the office. They called him into the office and they said, Percy, would you stop calling them stupid motherfuckers? You know what my grandfather said? He said, I didn't call those stupid motherfuckers stupid motherfuckers. I would never call those stupid motherfuckers a bunch of stupid motherfuckers. And walked out the office. That's my grandfather. And my dad was like, he felt so bad, like he kind of felt bad for the man because my grandfather would not slow down. He wouldn't just say, he wouldn't slowly, he never did it slow. He would just boom, 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 boom. He could easily cut up a chicken in less than 2 seconds. Quarter the whole chicken. That's my grandfather. He said, I didn't call those stupid motherfuckers stupid motherfuckers. I would never call those stupid motherfuckers a bunch of stupid motherfuckers. And walked out. They used to say, don't ever go in Percy's slide. My grandfather was mean. Like he'd carry that cleaver. The whole company knew, do not fuck with Percy. I remember when I was a kid, my grandmother would come up to the job sometime. My dad worked up there too. And my uncle did too. They're both truck drivers. But my grandmother, when I was a kid, when I was, 10, 5, 6 years old, at least one time during the summer, we would stop by the job. And I remember walking in, seeing my grandfather in that freezer. And he pulled out my grandfather used to always tell me when I was a kid, every time I walked in the kitchen, because he was always cooking. And he used to make me cry, because when I was like 4 or 5, he used to always make me cry. He'd pull his knife out. He had his big ass meat cleaver. And he'd be like, I'll cut you and stuff you. And that's what my grandfather would always tell me every time I walked in the house. He wouldn't say hi. He would always have that knife in his hand. And he'd say, I'll cut you and stuff you. And I was scared of my grandfather when I was a kid. I was scared of that nigga. I swear to God, I was scared of Poppy. I'll cut you and stuff you, you little fat motherfucker. Your big ass probably won't even fit in my oven, but I'll stuff you anyway. He said, I'll cut you and stuff you, you little fat motherfucker. That goes back to the trans and the LGBTQ community, man. Black people, we don't have a problem with words. We grew up hardened by our grandparents, who were hardened by the environment your ancestors put them in. My grandfather didn't volunteer to be a sharecropper. He didn't volunteer to carry water as a 7-year-old on those farms. Y'all put him in that position. I'm sure if you ask my grandfather, would you rather have not seen your uncle get trampled by horses as the police watched? I'm sure he would have said no. I would rather not have seen that. But you white trans, you white LGBTQ community, your ancestors said that was okay. So we black people grew up in environments where we got toughened up in the home so we wouldn't have to deal with the bullshit out the home. What's up, man? You gotta go way back down there? Ah, shit. But that's an environment that our ancestors were put in. They were placed in that environment. So if you want to marginalize our experience and our trauma and our movement to words, number one, you're being disrespectful. Two, you're just being flat out wrong. We don't get hurt when y'all use certain words, when white people use words on us. We just tell y'all don't use it or we gonna beat your ass. That's all. You ain't gonna hurt nobody that you call me a nigga. Not from a motherfucker that smell like wet possum. Give a fuck about what a white person think. You give a fuck about what a white person think about me. These are the biggest degenerates on earth. Not all of them, but culturally, hey, I'm not gonna soften the message up. You the motherfuckers that had a tribe named Vandals. Y'all the motherfuckers that decided to name a law against one of y'all own fucking tribe, the Vandals. That's why y'all call it vandalism. That's what you guys say. That's how you guys talk about each other. Yo, one of y'all tribes is so goddamn bad. Y'all literally named what it means to fuck things up after one of your tribes. All right, man. There are no tribes in North America named the Vandals. There are no tribes in Mesopotamia, in South Africa, in Australia, in Brazil named no fucking Vandals. That's your history. I don't give a fuck about no goddamn words. Fuck your words. We care about these resources. I was in West Hollywood yesterday. Sissyville. I was driving through there on that side of town. I was going to Beverly Hills for something. I was going to Beverly Hills, but I went through West Hollywood. I'm looking and seeing, y'all got your own town where they let y'all do what the fuck y'all want to do. Y'all are the first city allowed to smoke weed in California. And now y'all about to be the first city in California that officially extends drinking hours to 4 a.m. Y'all got your own police department because they used to be patrolled along with the, I think it was by LAPD. But LAPD was still rough on them like they was everybody else. So they said no LAPD. And they hired the LA County Sheriff. And the LA County Sheriff, all sheriff cars around the state got the same fucking look. Except for which one? The West Hollywood Sheriff. The West Hollywood Sheriff got a little bunch of rainbow boxes on the side of their car to let you know that we down with the fees. I know people who are sheriffs. They always say, I know actual sheriff officers in West Hollywood. And they've told me over here, your watch commander tell you, leave these sissies alone. Now if you see some niggas running through here, do what you do. But if they white and they 6'7" with a dress and size 16 heels that look like a Carnival cruise ship sinking into the ocean, leave that motherfucker alone. That's what the West Hollywood sheriffs are instructed to do. And that's according to a sheriff I know personally. Not one, 3 or 4 sheriffs I know personally. So this is the world that we live in. and you're equating your plight with mine, that's where we have an issue. That's why I have something to say. If you guys just went for your plight and went on your own like the way we did, I wouldn't have anything to say. If your plight wasn't based on ours, if it was just his own thing, like Save the Whales, the Save the Whales program ain't got nothing to do with black people. So I ain't got nothing to say about what they doing. You dig what I'm saying? But your fairy tale rights come off the back of what my ancestors fought for. That's bullying. You say you start wearing a dress? Yeah, now they won't pull you over if you wearing a dress, Clinton. Well, no, you black. You'll still get pulled over because you a nigga. Look, this shit don't apply to gay black people. I remember one time, this was like 3 or 4 years ago, I was Uber in West Hollywood. See, if you Uber drive in LA, you want to make sure that you out there on Friday and Saturday night between 2 and 3 a.m. in West Hollywood. Those are always the biggest surges. So back in the days when I used to Uber a lot, when I used to have to Uber drive a lot, you make your whole week Ubering out of West Hollywood 2:30, 3 a.m. Because them sissies party. You're going to have bussy juice on your car, in your seat in the back, but that's what Febreze and Armor All leather wipes are for. You dig? Well, I don't touch that shit. I go to the wash. Ubering out of West Hollywood, you get that 2:30 a.m. surge, shit. You about to get paid $120 to drive from West Hollywood to Northridge. At that time in the morning, that drive gonna take 16 minutes. You just made $120. Hell yeah, you gonna Uber West Hollywood. But I remember having these 3 black dudes that was sissies in the car. And they was going back to Inglewood. And I remember that ride, I couldn't wait for that shit to be over. But that ride paid me like $86 and it was like 15 minutes long. And it was on the way back home anyway. Anyway, these dudes was complaining about how they was getting treated in West Hollywood. Oh man, that doorman at the first club we went to, he was so racist. And I'm over here, man, because at first, before they got in the car, I was playing Jill Scott. When I saw these 3 homos come to the car, I changed that shit to Too Short. I'm over here, ain't nothing like pimping, just let it roll. Motherfucker shit, goddamn asshole. Ain't nothing like pimping, just fuck that. I ain't gonna play no Jill Scott with these motherfuckers coming to here looking like hamburger homos. I'm like, but I'm listening to these dudes talk. And they talking about, oh my God, they were so racist. With a lisp and shit. Like, why are you gay dudes always got a lisp? I know I know women don't have a, women get dicks rammed right down their mouth all the time. They teeth don't get crooked. That show you dicks ain't for men. Just because y'all sucking on sausages, you went from pronouncing your S's correctly to a lisp. But that's another topic. Back to what I was talking about. These dudes, apparently, like when I listened to them talk, and I asked them a few questions. I was like, so y'all be, and I already knew the answer before I asked. But one, I wanted to establish that I was separate from them by using the term y'all. But I just wanted to hear from I wanted to hear from, from the ball sucker's mouth themselves. And so I was like, so over here on Santa Monica Boulevard, y'all, I said, y'all be having like racist clubs over here? They were like, oh yeah. They be so racist. Like at the Abbey, because that's where we be cracking. That's where, if you're an Uber driver, you want to make sure you're in front of the Abbey. The Abbey is Sissy Central. That shit's on Santa Monica and Robertson. Them Uber rides be gold. I remember back when I used to Uber a lot. Well, if I didn't want to Uber a lot, I wouldn't do Uber all week. But when I had my job, I would just wait. And I wouldn't start Uber until about 11 o'clock at night on Friday and Saturday. Just so I could be in West Hollywood at 2:30, 3 in the morning. To get them rides. In the car, motherfucker, in the car. And so, what's up, man? And so, just so we can get them rides. And so, we used to be on that motherfucker. And but I remember hearing these dudes complaining. And it sounded like the same complaints I would get from the niggas on Sunset and Hollywood Boulevard. They were so racist. So they end up going to another club. And they have a good bussy time. Fun and fancy free, listening to Donna Summer. And whatever the fuck, Milli Vanilli, or whatever the hell they listen to. Sped up Michael Jackson and Prince music. What's up with gay people to that song Red Corvette? You know, I realized how much gay people love that song Red Corvette by Prince. I went to a Prince concert in 2004, Staples Center. The whole concert was great. And then it came a part where Prince sat on the couch and started playing a medley of a lot of his songs. And like as soon as he played Red Corvette, I swear to God, pixie dust came down from the ceiling, and these motherfuckers jumped up, and you started. I mean, it's just you saw all kinds of male hips shaking, and we was looking like, yo, what the fuck? This they song too? And every time I've gone to a Prince concert since, soon as Red Corvette come on, you see all the pink, queer, dookie loving in the world just pop up out of nowhere. But I encourage y'all if you're ever, I told my wife, I took her down there one time. If you're ever in LA and you want to see a social experiment, go through fucking West Hollywood. I even feel kind of bad for them too. Because when you look at West Hollywood, that shit looks like a social experiment. You could be in West Hollywood at 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock is the time school's let out. You won't see one child in West Hollywood. I don't even know if West Hollywood got any schools. I'm pretty sure they do. I think they got this one little elementary school. I don't even know if any kids go there. You ain't gonna see no fucking school buses in West Hollywood at 3 p.m. And we go at night, nigga, that shit is like a fucking zoo. They got rainbow colored sidewalks. There's rainbows all over the goddamn place. They got a whole goddamn community. Peter Panville. I mean, just all kinds of Diana Ross music playing in the background. And White Said Fred, I'm too sexy for my shirt. They still play that shit over there. And y'all want to say that y'all suffer from the same shit we do? Shit, let niggas try to party on Crenshaw. It'll be 40,000 police cars there in 2 seconds. Yeah, come on, we've always been cool with the LGBT community. I remember as a kid, my grandmother talking about, like everybody, y'all knew James Cleveland was gay. I remember because James Cleveland's church was on Slauson and Western. Slauson and Western. That's where his church was. And I remember when I was a kid, my grandmama used to listen to James Cleveland tapes. Remember James Cleveland had that one song? This too will make it pass. This too. I went to the doctor, and the doctor checked my pressure. And he said my blood pressure was high. But I said, high blood, low blood, no blood at all. This too will make it pass. That nigga ended up dying a couple years later, he too, but anyway, I remember my grandmama and my grand aunts talking about, now you know James Cleveland's a little fuddy-duddy. My grandmama knew James Cleveland was gay. That didn't stop her from listening to his tapes when they dropped. Grandmama, I remember my grandmama laughing. Yeah, he a little gay, but shit, James Cleveland can preach his ass off. I don't want to think of what else he was doing with his ass, but that's another story. We don't care. So I'm pretty sure this was a different approach than a lot of people thought when they saw the thumbnail. Because that's a nice ass motorcycle right there. That's one of them Harleys. They had that shit decked out. I'm a nigga. I'm a porch sitting. Like, y'all used to come to y'all a lot from my computer. I'd rather do this shit, especially in the summertime when it's hot. I'm an outside ass LA nigga. I probably should be more formal and get on my computer and speak from my Shure microphone and have images and pixels up to explain my case. Or I come from y'all from the outside the crib. Speaking how I feel. But yeah, as Webb said, some of them jokers can play the fire out of the piano. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, they can play the fuck out of the piano. Man, we cool with it. We cool with our gay community. But pushing an agenda, that's not what I'm cool with. The political agenda that marginalizes what my grandparents and my ancestors fought for. That's where we draw the line. So I'm not saying be disrespectful. I'm not saying purposely misgender, but me personally, when I run across trans people, I just don't use pronouns. I call them by their name. I don't know if y'all saw that video on Instagram of Reggie Carroll where he's explaining that he's the one. If y'all saw 5150, I know a lot of y'all watch 5150. That whole situation with Reggie Carroll and Ryan Davis. See, man, drama don't hardly ever happen around me, man. I was there that night and I left. I was there. Usually I'm there for the joke circle. But I had somewhere to go early the next morning. So I left before the joke circle. So I wasn't there when Reggie Carroll did what he did to push Ryan Davis out of LA. According to the story. Again, I wasn't there. I was there early that night, but I was not there when it happened. But Reggie's my guy. I love that dude. He was talking about, did y'all see that story on 5150 when they were talking about that? Yeah, I'm talking about 5150 from last night, yeah. I still didn't see it all. I stopped at, right now I'm still at Darlene's Loose Talk. I haven't gotten past that part. Yeah, no. It was Reggie Carroll. Go on Reggie Carroll's Instagram. He posted a video last week breaking down how it all happened. Hear from the horse's mouth himself. But I forgot why I even brought up Reggie Carroll. Why did I even bring that shit up? What was I talking about? I lost my goddamn train of thought. Oh, that's why. Because in Reggie's video, he kept talking about when it happened, it was and he was using the word transvestite. Anytime I hear a nigga use that word, I be laughing my ass off. Reggie don't give a fuck. He didn't say trans woman, trans man. He said transvestite. But I know the trans person that he's talking about. And I've been around that trans person comes around the Improv a lot. We don't treat that trans person any different. He be out there with me, Craig, Boo Capone, Corey Holcomb. We don't treat that trans person any different. Now, when that trans person, I remember one time that trans person tried to, one time we was out in front of the Improv, that same trans person tried to get Corey to call him like a she. And Corey's like, man, look, I ain't gonna disrespect you, but you're not gonna get me to say what you want me to say. And Corey said that shit very respectful. Because Corey could have went, y'all know Corey could have went in. But he was like, you're not gonna get me to say what you want me to say. And that's how we gotta be. We can still be respectful. I'm gonna call you by your name. But I'm not gonna just get rid of nature and say I don't know what a woman is, I don't know what a man is, so you can feel good. What's up, Ebony, in the chat room? I know you's in here. Nah, y'all don't know Reggie. No. Reggie really do got a rep out here. It was one nigga we saw him whoop. This nigga, he whooped somebody I know can fight. That story he told about the security guard, he wasn't lying. And that security guard that he beat up can fight. That nigga got hands. And he bigger than Reggie. But that nigga has certified hands. Reggie still whooped his ass. I once stopped, because Reggie kept talking about Memphis Will. I once stopped Reggie from whooping Memphis Will's ass. When I was doing security at the Comedy Union, I used to, like I said, I used to do security, then get up on stage and tell jokes. Memphis Will said some slick shit to Reggie. Reggie was ready to fuck that nigga up. Like, we had to like lock the front door and like lock Reggie out. And to get Memphis Will out the back door. They ended up talking it out and becoming cool again. Like, thank God nothing ever happened. But that night, woof. Nigga, I had to get Reggie out, and then Reggie, I talked about him, man, hey, dog, you know how he is, bruh. I'm not gonna say Reggie never took an L. I don't know if he probably could be putting extras on it. I don't know. But I've never heard of Reggie taking an L. Hell, one night at the J Spot, I'm walking up to the J Spot, Reggie's throwing a show. I'm walking up the steps, and this is other comic. I'm not gonna say his name because I like the guy, so I don't want to. I like him, but he's from Chicago. He was living out here in LA for a while, but I think now he's either in Vegas or he probably moved back to Chicago. But he's a Chicago comic. I walk up, I see this nigga looking like a sad dog with his glasses in his hand. I'm like, what's going on, dog? He like, man, that nigga Reggie slapped me. Because I had just saw the aftermath of it, like I heard it. But I was walking up the steps. I saw like the end of the swing. I didn't see the slap. I saw like the immediate aftermath. And I saw dude not do nothing. And I was like, why did Reggie smack you? He was like, because dude that did a set, he lived like way back in San Bernardino. If you know LA, Inglewood to San Bernardino is an hour, hour and a half drive, depending on how fast you drive. But it's at least an hour. And this nigga Reggie didn't like got mad that dude asked him for his money, and he slapped him and then stepped on the nigga's glasses. That shit was funny. And then he still ended up paying him. Biz Marty, I saw you talking shit in Marcus's chat room, calling John Cena my sister. Fuck you, nigga. And salute to John Cena. She cool as hell. That's my nigga right there. I got love for John Cena. But I saw you up in the chat room. Well, I got people that saw you up in the chat room and let me know. People be letting me know what's going on these internet streets. But no, Reggie was just tripping that night. Reggie, overall, let me tell you something. Reggie Carroll's a good dude. He really is. Like he really don't start shit. When he was saying he don't start shit, he don't start shit. He don't. That night he did. Well, I said sometimes. But 99% of the conversations I seen Reggie Carroll in, he didn't start it. But he did end it. But at the same time, Reggie be around the joke circle all the time. It'll be me, David Lucas. Sometimes D-Ray Davis will come out to it. It's always booing, like Corey, and boo whenever he can get whenever Boo ass can get a ride down there. And we be going in on each other. It'd be a trans dude out there. That don't stop the jokes. But Reggie Carroll, he never stands in the joke circle. He never stands in the joke circle. And I didn't know about the middle finger part that Reggie said, but I do know that Ryan tried to say something to Reggie in that joke circle. And Reggie don't play that joking shit. You stay away from Reggie and that joking shit. I swear, if I just told my stories, firsthand accounts of what I've seen, I would have 200,000 YouTube subs easily. If it were about that, I got stories. I got some juicy ass stories I done forgot. Stories that happened within the last 2 months I could have told, cause I be in the middle of all that shit. But I'm a real LA nigga, born and raised. We don't talk about what we see. YouTube ain't enough clout in the world for me. I'm only telling. Why am I telling y'all this story? The same, for those of you who follow me, what do I always say? I don't tell the juicy shit until they tell it. This story happened back in December. This whole thing between Ryan Davis and Reggie Carroll, I was like, December. Did y'all hear me say anything? Hell no. I'm only saying it now because Reggie just did a 45-minute long IG live that has like 128,000 views talking about what happened. So now I can tell you guys my perspective on what happened. I could have posted this shit back in December when it happened, and I could have gotten 50,000 views on that video probably. Probably more than that. But I'm not a clout chaser. I use my YouTube to pass along information and share thoughts of mine that I think can possibly help niggas. Offer an opinion that can change people, that can, help people with their perspective on something. That's all I do. I offer an opinion. And if people don't want to, if people don't care, that's fine with me too. What's up, Cold Crush? That's a good idea, Tyler Bennett. Tell some of these stories on Patreon. Yeah, I'm about to get more active on my Patreon. I haven't been. Salute to everybody that's been subscribing. I've just been waiting. I've been wanting to get more active. I've been waiting on my book to come out, but my person editing my book is just taking forever. So it's like, I think I am gonna start posting more stuff on Patreon. Certain stuff. I will tell some stories on Patreon, like some older stories that now can no longer, especially my NBA stories that can no longer hurt anybody because they're now retired or some shit. I could tell some stories on my Patreon. But still, I still even then though, I still wouldn't tell certain things though. I still wouldn't tell certain things because I do respect people's privacy. I do. Yeah, but I'm proud of my man Reggie Carroll. Because Reggie Carroll got in a real bad car accident like 3 or 4 months ago, and he almost died. So to see Reggie, because he thought he lost his eye. Like, he had an eye patch on for a while. His eye got fucked up in the accident. He thought that he wasn't going to be able to see again out of his right eye. But when I saw his video, I see that he don't have that patch over his eye anymore. So, man, big love to Reggie Carroll. That's the brother that embraced me right away when I first started comedy. I had been doing like comedy like 3 or 4 months. And it was the same night. It was me, Stevie J, the same guy y'all thought he was talking about. Because Reggie Carroll was like the OG comic that would come around when we all first started comedy. Me, Stevie J, London Brown, Big Jai, Craig. To Hear More would be around back then. Reggie Carroll was like the OG comic that would him and Scruncho. Reggie Carroll, Scruncho, those were like the OG comics. Ricky Harris used to have a room on Tuesday nights in Long Beach. And so Ricky Harris was the one I was closest to. That was my closest OG comic. Ricky Harris was the first OG. Ricky Harris and Reggie Carroll were the first 2 OG comics to kind of look at me and be like, nigga, you got something. Reggie Carroll be like, you be on that smart shit, nigga. My nigga D be on that smart shit. And Ricky Harris told me I should become more of a storytelling comic. He told me Ricky Harris would tell me my stories were interesting because I was more of a punchline comic. But one night at the comedy club at his night, didn't nobody show up. So we all took turns with the mic in our hand. Me, I'll never forget that night. It was me, London Brown, Big Jai, and Ricky Harris. It was just us in the room. And I had this chick with me. This is before I got married, y'all. Before I got married, I always had a chick with me. Anyway, that's another story. I had this chick with me. She's the only person in the audience. And we all kind of went up and told stories. And Ricky Harris, after I told my story and I integrated it with jokes, Ricky Harris was the first OG to be like, man, nigga, you got something. You need to tell your stories on stage. You are already comfortable. So rest in peace, Ricky Harris. But I appreciate that, Wally. Yeah, Reggie Carroll don't really fool with social media. He don't. And he's not somebody who really be out there like that. Like he does like local shows wherever he is. He throws shows a lot in LA and Baltimore. And sometimes New York. But Reggie Carroll ain't really one that's about social media, nah. Reggie Carroll's a real face-to-face ass nigga. But everybody you know on the internet that's famous now, They know Reggie Carroll. They do. Especially if they're living in LA. They know him because he's always around. Then he'll disappear, but when he disappears, he's in Baltimore. But that's one of my guys right there, Reggie Carroll. Big love to him. But again, back to the trans thing. There's a trans person around. When we're out there at the Improv, there's a trans person around all of us all the time. A lot of the time. You got ignorant ass comics like Reggie Carroll, Corey Holcomb, Scruncho be out there sometimes, D-Ray be out there sometimes. Well, it's D-Ray's night, but usually he don't come to the joke circle, but some nights he will. David Lucas, everybody you see from Roast Me for the most part. And that trans person that's out there gets treated with the same respect as everyone else. No one disrespects that trans person. That's how we really treat trans people. When gay people come around, it's certain comics that are gay. When they come around, they get the same jokes everyone else get. They don't get treated no better. They don't get treated no worse. I remember one night we were at the Improv. We were out front. It was me, Corey, and Kevin Hart was there too. Me, Corey, Kevin Hart, Boo was there, Craig was there, and then Mike Epps walked out. This nigga Mike Epps started shooting dice. This nigga Mike Epps started shooting dice, and then 50 Cent walked out. And then when 50 Cent saw Mike Epps shooting dice, them niggas started shooting dice together. Them niggas started putting on hundreds and shooting dice. The gay homie comic that was sitting right there, we cracking jokes. 50 Cent, Mike Epps, Corey, me. This was years ago. Gay comics right there with us. The gay comic and the trans comic treated with nothing but love and respect. You saw the video of Boo's birthday roast? Huh? Where's that video at? That one. I thought it was about Slink. The last time I did a birthday roast on stage was Slink's birthday last year. See, I've been kind of kicked out in the outer circles of the LA comic scene. But that night of Slink's birthday roast, they had it was like a nigga night. It was like all kind of niggas smoking weed and shit. So they had like a few of your blue check comics, a few of your comics that got names and notoriety going up, and them niggas was eating at that Slink's birthday roast. Nigga, I got on stage and lit that motherfucker up. And it was funny too, the person that was booking the night, it was a comic sitting next to me, to the right of me, I don't remember who he was, and Craig was to the left of me. And she walked up and was like, "Can you two go on stage?" I'm sitting in the middle of these two comics. She was like, "Can you two go on stage for Slinks?" And then when she looked at them two comics, she looked back at me and rolled her eyes and like literally rolled her eyes and walked the other way. Like, yeah, nigga, you ain't getting on stage. But this other comic who was booked, they were nervous to go up on stage by themselves and roast Slink. And so they was like, no, my man, he wasn't nervous. Let me take that back. He wasn't nervous because he ended up killing that motherfucker. But my man, William Faulkner, Will, if you pay me, if y'all know him online, he was like, "D, you here? Nah, nigga, you getting on stage." I was like, old girl said, shit. He was like, "Man, fuck her. You getting on stage." And that nigga walked up to the person that booked him and was like, "My nigga D is funny. He getting on stage." And I've clowned the shit out of Slink on his birthday. That shit was fun. But there were gay people there that night too. They weren't harassed. We don't do that as a people. Are there isolated incidences? Yes. There are exceptions. There are times gay people get harassed and bullied. The same way there are times that straight people get harassed and bullied. People who harass, people who bully, they do that with everybody. Everybody gets it. As a fat nigga, I've been harassed for my size. People have attempted to bully me for my size. It didn't happen. You know why? Because I wouldn't allow it. That's nothing about bullying. You can only be bullied if you allow it. But there were several attempts of people to try to big boy me, try to one-up me, because they saw I had a little weight on me and they thought that they was better than me because of that. I've had that. I've had these issues. My wife has even told me that. So that annoys my wife. Like, it's certain people that she said tried to get at her because in the way she breaks it down, she's like, I could tell that these niggas is thinking, okay, she with that fat nigga, she gotta be. And my wife, that annoys the fuck out of her. It doesn't. It happened to her like twice. And of course, I don't kick it with those cats no more. But I had already kind of seen it anyway. But you got people who are so-called cool with you that think because they in shape, they got one over you. I know what it's like. You think I give a fuck? I'm a successful ass nigga. I don't give a fuck. I won. I come home to a wife that loved me, that be cooking for me, goddammit, that got my back. I got a family that loves me. I was with my dad this morning, chilling. My mom, my sister, my brother. I got everything I need. A comfortable place to live. Why am I saying that? A lot of you people in the trans LGBTQ community, I'm over here in my cubby hole in the middle of Niggerville, LA, a black LA that they're trying their best to gentrify, that they are gentrifying. It's being gentrified. Seeing more and more white neighbors every fucking day. While you guys get to live in an area that couldn't be gentrified if people wanted to. Because you guys have access to jobs that pay you enough to live in a city like West Hollywood, where rent is $5,500 a month for a 2-bedroom. You guys have access to those type jobs. See, a black person that can live somewhere $5,500 a month, they gotta fucking own the company, or be like an extraordinary engineer, or do something extraordinary to be able to afford that. You motherfuckers can afford that with a regular old job that you can get with a basic ass bachelor's degree, or no degree at all. You just have a fucking job. And Twinkle Toes. You got a job in Twinkle Toes, and that pays you, and that gets you enough money to stay in a neighborhood that a house is gonna run you goddamn, and this before what's going on right now, the boom. It's gonna run you $1.6 million for 1,300 square feet of space in your own city, where you guys hired the police department and gave them instructions to not fuck with you. It's different. It's different. Ooh, look outside. You got Saturn and Jupiter up there in the sky looking beautiful and grand. So we don't have to stand for it. We can be respectful, but we don't have to not call men men and women women. No. Men are men and women are women. And how anyone feels about it is their problem. You don't have to run to them and say, hey, no, you're not a woman, you're a man. No, you ain't got to talk to them. But when you're talking to each other, when you're talking to your children, especially to your children, make it very clear the difference between a man and a woman. That nigga said Craig has Lion King skin tone. Y'all stupid. Y'all niggas is dumb. I'm about to get the fuck up out of here. Thank y'all for listening. LGBTQ people, trans people, we ain't got no problem with you. But when you attach your movement to ours, you now open up the space for my opinion. If you don't want my opinion, make your move on your own. Respect my grandparents. My grandparents loved me when they were here on earth. I respect them. And I don't stand for you disrespecting them because you decided you want to be called something different. That's not my problem. With respect. Go to breakthroughas.org for your cardology sessions, nigga. In CincinnatiStrays.com. I put up a new post today on an old episode of In Cincinnati Strays, The Message in Our Music. Listen to that. Alright? And remember, there are no perfect messengers. Only perfect messages. For those willing to pick up the game. Have respect for our ancestors. Let's stand on what they fought to create for us. Let us expand upon what they fought to create for us. Let us fill in the holes of the mistakes that they made. Let us learn from the mistakes that they made and empower ourselves with the history that they made. I'm out.